Kev, I saw an article. We were talking about the weather earlier at the top of the show, and something we don't consider. I missed the snow in my travels this weekend, but when you are a professional wrestler
Phew.
and travel is basically what you're being paid to do, your matches last about 10 minutes, but your travel is your entire life. Um,
Money in the miles.
yeah. And especially going back to, the 90s and before, when you guys would get nailed with snow or even just bullshit like fog and you get a flight that's delayed 6 hours. I mean, what happened this week? The workers this
See,
week had to go.
this is the difference between our era and this era.
Uh-huh.
Everybody was stuck at airports
Right.
because they're flying, they're hubbing, like they're at the TV, making the TV and then going.
Mm-hmm.
To whereas we would be like we might have landed in Newark 2 weeks ago, and we're
You're driving to
yeah
what,
we're
six cities?
we're 250 a night away from there. So I remember one time we were in Montreal, and I want to think we had TV coming up, and I want to think it was in Burlington, Vermont, and we got the call like at the hotel because everybody was at this journey in, like, get in your cars and get, like, Montreal is going to get crushed and get there. So I was driving a Lumina, white Lumina with burgundy fabric material, sweet ride. Triple H, Paul was my co-pilot. Paul is sick as fuck. We stop and get, like, everything that you can get. Like, we're buying Sudafed, uh, Dayquil, Nyquil. I mean, he's drinking this shit by just wrestling dosage because he's sicker than hell, and he knows he's going to work on TV. So we're driving, and it's like, I mean, snowing sideways, and there's not a car on the road, nor should there be, because only an idiot would be on the road. And up ahead, I see in the right hand lane, I see flat, flashing lights and everything. It's up, like it's going over a hill, and so it takes us a while. And as we crest the hill, I see it's a plow, and it so now, like, if I'm driving and this is my vision, I see the plow go across, and of course it's the opposite way, but it goes it exits to the middle of the road. So I'm like, oh fuck, man, because we were kind of following this plow, and it was like we were making some time. So I'm probably going. I mean, nothing crazy, but not bitching it either. I'm probably going 50. Well, this fucking snowplow, what it does is, as it decides to go across and go up the other way, it doesn't pick up its snowplow. It leaves like a 6 foot wall of snow across the middle of the highway.
Because it cut
It cut across. And
horizontally.
I mean, it's whiteout conditions, and it's a white road. And by the time we realize that there's actually topography in front of us, I mean, it's like we might as well have hit a cement. I mean, it was just like wham. So we hit this snow bank, and you hear the car kind of go, but we get through it, and I kind of slide a little bit, and Paul was kind of out. He kind of got up and he goes, "We all right?" I said, "Yeah, we're all right." So we're driving, we're driving, we're driving. We're about another 45 minutes into this drive. It's not that far from Montreal to Burlington. And all of a sudden, like I realized that the headlights are starting to fade. And then it was like the lights on the inside of the car are starting to fade, and the heat's not as good. I'm like, we got something going on. So we get into Vermont, and we we're driving, and I said we got to get off the road. And I look, and there's the sign that says like motel hotel. It's like like the you know some Hansel and Gretel motel, you know. And so I get off and get to the top of this ramp, and as I'm going down, the 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 motel is dead in front of us. And as I go and I hit the peak of this ridge, fucking the lights and the car cuts off. So I just take my foot off the brake
Can the momentum get you in the lot?
and pray. And I mean, it's like, we slide in and we're probably, I don't know, 4 feet shy of actually pulling into a parking spot in front of this motel. So I go in. I said, "Let me go inside." So I'm ringing the bell outside. Finally, this the typical, you know, 1995 on the road, and the person gets up and gives you that look like, the fuck you doing? What do you think I'm doing? Just looking for. The guy says, "I got one room. It's got a king size bed." I'm like, "Well, we'll take it." And so I go out. And I said, "We got a king size bed, man." I said, so he says, I said, "I'll sleep on the top. We'll just double heel it." So I kind of help because he's feeling like shit. I kind of help him in the room, and I get the bags and I take him in the thing and put the heat on, and he falls asleep, and I fall asleep. Get up the next morning with a wake up call, and I call Avis, and Avis basically just says it'll be like 35 to 45 minutes. They're flatbedding us a new car. Well, while we were in Montreal, me and Double J went out to a strip joint, and somebody fucking, while we were coming back to the hotel, somebody fucking sideswiped the whole side of the car. So,
The Lumina.
the Lumina. So the Lumina's fucking taking some damage. And we have no loss damage waiver on it. So the guy pulls up. He's a young guy. I just go straight into cutting a promo on him. This motherfucking car, and the guy opens it. But he knows. He flatbeds it up first, and then he opens the hood when he gets up there, and he goes, "Oh," he goes, "when you guys hit that snowbank, it snapped the alternator off." So just like just snapped the alternator, and I don't know how I guess those other, or maybe it wasn't all the way snapping anyway. It was like we were, we should have died. We should have been on the side of the road and died. And we got a brand new car. Paul kind of kicked out of his fever a little bit. We got into it, went and got some breakfast, decided we'd eat waffles, went to TV. It was just like, "Oh, see, that wasn't so bad." Another time we're in Columbus. They have the.
Well, let me ask you before you move to that. Let me stay on this other story. How many guys make it to TV? Like, do you have half a roster there?
At least.
Yeah.
At least, because a lot of guys had. everybody loves Montreal because they had the best strip joints. So everybody stayed in Montreal and would, instead of doing the old make the night the town the night before,
Right.
fuck that. If we get 2 nights in Montreal, we're gonna go to pure platinum. So um, we're in Columbus, and they just opened because they used to have old St. John Arena that was on the campus, and they opened. I think it was the National Car Center or whatever it was. So I've got a Buick Park Avenue, green leather, sweet. So driving with me is Ross Foreman from the WCW magazine, and we get out, and there's probably 4 or 5 good inches on top of our car. And I'm like, fuck this, man. I said, so I was talking to some different people. I said, worst case scenario, we'll charter some turboprops tomorrow, and we'll get to Evansville to make TV. And I'm like, I ain't getting on no fucking turboprop. I said, so I looked at it, and this is, of course, prior to cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing the math, and I'm like, eh, it's either 400 or 600 miles, somewhere in that radius.
Were planes that accessible where you could get on the phone and just get a?
I think that, I mean, it was WCW, and they had to make TV. We had Thunder,
Right.
so I guess they would have done whatever they had to do. I said, "Fuck it, I'm going to drive." So I cleaned the car off the best I could. We stopped at White Castle. I got
Mm.
12 double cheeseburgers.
Oh, I love them.
Ugh, I think Ross had 4. We got some fries. And then I went and bought a case of beer and put it in I had a cooler that I would pack in my bag. It was fabric, and you could fold it. And then when you got to the airport for the first town, you'd pull that bitch out, and then on the way home, you put your dirty clothes in it, and it was perfect.
Right.
So I get the cooler, put the beers down, put the ice on top. I'm ready to go. So we take off, and we get out on whatever the road is. We go from Columbus to Evansville, and if you've traveled enough, especially up in the north, like most of the roads have a ridge, to them.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a natural ridge,
Oh, left to
and
right. You mean the
yeah, you're
curve?
like a
Yeah.
mound. So
Yeah.
if you go down the center line, the wind pretty much keeps the snow off of that center
Right.
mound. So it's 70 miles an hour. I set the cruise on 60. I'm eating cheeseburgers and drinking beer, and we're like 3 hours in, 3.5 hours in, and I'm like, man, I gotta piss. I said, how are we on beer? He said, that one's your 15th. So I'm like, all right,
In what amount of time?
like 3.5 hours. So I'm not getting drunk. I'm just drinking.
But does it even taste good after 6? Jesus. Okay.
Fuck yeah, ice cold. Ice cold beer's ice cold beer. So we decide we see this Plaza off to the side. I think it's a mobile, and we get off. And I've noticed, like, way in the back, like, there's been this car, following us. But then we'd lose it, and then we'd kind of catch up a little bit, but I didn't pay any attention to it. So we get off the exit. Now it's pretty shady because none of this shit's plowed, so I'm going slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to the side of this gas station, and it's like an area where you would park trucks, but there's no trucks there. So I'd say, I wonder like how slick it is. So I take off and I'm going like 30 and I just slam on the brakes and the car slides quite a ways. I'm like, fuck. Like, like that's at 30. We're going 60 like this way.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I turn to Ross and say that, the blue lights come on. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And so the guy, I'm sitting there, and this guy walks up. I put the window down. He goes, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, what the fuck are you doing? I said, I was checking the skid ratio. He
The
goes, what do you mean the
skid
skid
ratio?
ratio? I said, yeah. I said, I figured 30 miles an hour. I'd figure out how much, double that, because I was going 60. He goes, oh, no. You're going 65 on the road up there. He goes, that car that's been following you for the last 2 hours, that's me. He goes, I couldn't catch you. I'm like, I wasn't, I'm like, and he says, how many beers have you had? I said, I had a couple beers at Applebee's before we left Columbus. He said, the answer is one or two. You've just won yourself a shot at the breathalyzer. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, fuck. Now I know I'm drinking 15 or 16 beers. Only thing I've had is White Castle burgers and fries. And I wrestled. I wrestled before I on nitro. So I'm thinking, oh, fuck, when I'm going to get a DUI. This is going to fucking suck. So guy makes me get out of the car. Once I get out of the car, now I'm in the cold, and it's just like fucking. I'm free. It's freezing out. So he gives me the breathalyzer and he tells me to blow into it. And he goes, no, blow into it. And I said, fuck what I got to lose. So I blow into it, and he fucking looks at me and goes, .02. You're a quarter of the way there. And I said, whoa. I said, okay. I said, well, Ross, I said, and Ross didn't drink. I said, Ross, you're going to have to take the wheel, man. I said, I didn't realize that those two beers that were still in me.
Applebee's beer.
Yeah. So the guy says, all right. He goes, you can't ride down the middle of the road. I said, all right, we won't. I said, but we've got to get to Evansville for TV. So he leaves. I go inside, piss, and I wait and I wait and I wait. And the fucking guy's sitting out there. I'm thinking, I'm refilling I'm getting another fucking 12 pack.
Oh,
Like, like fuck this motherfucker, man. Like, I figure out how much I've got like 212 miles to go, and I'm gonna want some when I get there to sit in the room and
well,
watch
you were only
fucking.
.02. Your skid ratio was safe, and your
And I'm
beer to intoxication ratio was also.
exactly. So
You
the
had
guy,
room for both.
so the guy, finally the cop pulls away, and I said, he's gonna. Like, I had a big red uh, hoodie on. I said he's gonna fucking for sure. Like, he'll see that, while it's on. I said so. I said we'll go ahead and let Ross drive until we'll switch. And then lo and behold, we went. He was there. We passed him. I just wish I'd have thrown it empty at him, but we passed and we went up for Ross. We drove 20 minutes. I'm like, all right, like I'll go with you driving fucking 40 miles an hour. Let me take the wheel. But
It's miraculous when you guys were doing your loops throughout the Northeast or even just like the Midwest, Minnesota and shit, and Michigan. It's amazing more shows weren't canceled. Or, I mean, you had substitutions on the card and stuff, but there must have been some that, I mean, how do you do TV with half your roster? You got all these angles written, right? You've been writing 2 and 3 weeks out because you're advancing towards a pay-per-view or something. You get a couple of key people don't make it to the
there was
building.
no
What do you
such
do?
there's no such thing as not making it. That's on you. That's why that I think it was Harrisburg when we were late because we fucking stopped and like had Cracker Barrel or something, and Paul said, what we're gonna fucking get so much heat." And I said, "Just watch me, man. Just follow my lead." I said, "Walk behind me and shake your head like." What was I supposed to do? And I walked in and I just said, "Who the fuck booked this motherfucker?" And I just went off and they just went like, "Well, we were going to say you're fucking fine, but nobody's fucking got the balls to." So.
What was your ruse? You were complaining who booked because you got lost?
No, it was that fucking Pennsylvania Turnpike, man. The fucking speed limit's like 55, and it was, oh my God, there was a fucking foot and a half of snow, and it was like,
2 tractor trailers overturned.
yeah, but I mean, we just stopped and fucking
ate.
Yeah, like two gentlemen fucking ate instead of having a fucking instead of having an IcoPro bar, stopped and fucking had little Uncle Herschel's fucking breakfast with the extra fucking teriyaki chicken, like a couple cups of coffee, like fuck, like
Now, the bologna and white bread wasn't good enough for you
exactly.
at catering, huh?
Like I said,
Mr. Big Shot.
Remember one time we were trying to catch a plane in fucking Frankfurt. Like there was a McDonald's in the Frankfurt airport. And, we all looked at each other and said, "Think we got time to grab a burger?" Macho said, "Fuck it, there's always another plane." And we were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, right, Mach? Let's fucking get some burgers." Like, who the fuck's... We were so just beat down.
Yeah. When you would 90s travel, you weren't like crisscrossing the country like in the 80s with the A, B, and C shows. Like you could be in San Diego one night, New York the next night, Montreal the next night. So you would fly, let's say, into like Newark, right?
Newark.
You'd land.
We do Newark.
You do Meadowlands.
Occasionally we would do that. There'd be that whole Meadowlands, Uniondale,
Boston,
then Garden.
Oh.
Yeah, sometimes we do that. Garden was always a Saturday night show. Uniondale we do, then but we'd only usually do 2 of those. And the one that wasn't one of the like normal 3 was the Meadowlands, because you would do
That's a lot in one area. It's
you do
New
the
York
Garden,
City and the Meadowlands,
then you do like go do Boston, go do
you could
Portland,
do Baltimore,
Portland, Maine.
Oh, you go up as far as Maine just from the New Jersey flight? You drive your way up.
I've been from New Jersey as far west as Yuma
on just the Newark flight. Wow.
Yeah, because think about it. If you land in Newark and you do Newark.
If you're going west, you're talking about, right?
If you go west,
Philly,
so you go Philly,
Allentown,
Philly, then Baltimore, then work your way across Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Cleveland, Cleveland to Detroit, and these are like Detroit to St. Louis is $2.99. Or Chicago, Detroit to Chicago is $2.99. Chicago to St. Louis is $2.98. I mean, it's just like, and you would start, and now you're at the Mississippi. You're on your way over.
Wow.
It's just,
that's remarkable.
Yeah.
And it's, again, the thing that's miraculous to me, this is the time before cell phones too, right? So you're not booking hotels on the fly in the car while you're driving. You're pulling into a town.
You're pulling in. You start. I mean, it's depending on the size of the town. If it's Baltimore, you better start looking for a hotel 20 miles out of town.
Right, when you're headed down, start looking before you get
start
in.
looking.
Right.
And then it's just, it's it's so much easier when you've got, if you got guys and you go to a red roof, because you can back right up, get 2 rooms adjoining, throw your shit in, you're set.